Hello, this is Mike Bergman. Welcome to this screencast on Intro to structOntology. It is part of a growing series of videos and tutorials from Structured Dynamics and our screencast channel. What we're going to do over the next few minutes is describe this new application, which is an online ontology editor and manager geared to the central brains of a semantic application, the ontology. It is one of a family of construct semantic tools. We have about a dozen other applications presently in open source. This is the newest member. It is intended as an integrated replacement for existing and capable tools like Protégé, which unfortunately, while quite comprehensive, are oftentimes quite difficult for new users to learn. And so therefore, what we have put together is a system that we believe is easy to use and very functional, and that's what we'll be principally covering in the next few minutes, but also a system that's very pragmatic and needs to deal with enterprise applications of semantic technologies, so therefore possibly very large ontologies or large numbers of them need to be handled simultaneously. And the system is grounded in the OWL API version 3, which means that the system is compliant with the OWL 2 ontology language. Okay, with that backdrop, let's go ahead and dive into the demo. Like all other construct tools, structOntology is embedded within a content management system, in this case Drupal. We will, while we're seeing this embedded in a fairly typical site, we're going to ignore most of the other menus and other options with regard to the portal and stay focused on the ontology application itself. The first thing we see when the ontology screen comes up are the active ontologies that have been loaded in the system. In this case, we're going to go ahead and pick the NPI ontology. What we basically see in the layout is the listing of ontologies and the main user options shown over here in the right-hand panel. The main activity in the application takes place under the View option. Under this layout, we have the classes in the selected ontology, NPI ontology, and then the various structural definitions and annotations associated with that. So there's a number of features here associated with this screen. We're probably going to spend more time on this than any other. The first is that there is contextual search available, or let's say we're interested in community facilities. We have a contextual search here that's going through all of the labels associated with each of the classes in the system, and we can set this up to whether we are picking the labels themselves or the alternative descriptions, and here we see community facilities. And when selected, that issues a query to the remote server that then begins to bring back the instances of this concept within the tree structure. You can see that it auto expands. The advantage of this approach is that we're able to quickly load the tree at the beginning, but can contextually expand the tree as necessary for whatever it is we're looking for. In this particular case, we're actually dealing with a very long, large ontology. This has more than 3,000 concepts in it and about 6,000 axioms. One of the other options that you have for populating this system is to actually go ahead and drag and drop. So if community facilities is the item that was of interest to us, we can try to drag and drop that over into the structural definitions. You'll see here from our tooltip that we cannot actually bring this definition into the annotations because an annotation is not a class. But if we bring it down to the structural definition, we can, and so we'll go ahead and drop this into the system. We could also go ahead and populate this facility via also contextual search as the main search box works. So let's look for another item, let's say related to health. And we have here then items related to all of the health items within the system. Now you'll notice, let's go ahead and do health insurance. Now, each one of these panels over in the side also has an expand and collapse feature to it. So we can go ahead and collapse and expand. And then we can also add additional entries via the green little plus sign, or if in fact we did not want to keep this assignment that we just made, we could go ahead and remove it. So we'll go ahead and recollapse the tree. Now let's explain these various sections over here. The annotations are basically the metadata and the descriptive aspects. You'll see that the particular properties associated with that are actually presented to us via definitions in the Properties tab. The structural definitions are the items which relate to parent and child relationships within the tree structure, as well as equivalent to and disjoint relationships. Now, if you recall, we mentioned that this structOntology is based on the OWL API. There are in fact additional assignments that can be made within the OWL API, but these are the ones that are presented here because they are the ones most often used by ontologists and users. Also associated with each of the items can be a possibility of instance assignments. Here we see ones that are basically assignments of community facilities by locality or facility within the community. Also, we can make assignments with regard to the types of properties that might be associated with these various classes. So these are basically sort of descriptive attributes that can be cross-correlated. That's through the has characteristic relationship. And also we can see some advanced assignments. One of the things which we describe in a different screencast has to do with how this various ontology structure drives applications by virtue of defining which widgets can be used in association with various types of information and views within the ontology. And that kind of display component assignment, as well as labels that show up in interfaces and so forth, are handled under the advanced. Now, the interaction between the tree structure and the right-hand panel is as simple as going ahead and highlighting a given concept, and as it has done so, we'll see that the various aspects in the right-hand panel are changed very rapidly for quick review. Now, similar to the classes area, we can also do the similar activities with properties. You'll see here are the annotation properties, and they too have similar right-hand panels for updates, labels, and so forth. So via these two tabs, we basically have complete control over the whole system. So let's now go back to the main menu. We can also go ahead and export this option. So let's go ahead and export the ontology that we've been working on, the NPI ontology. And by picking it, we'll get up a conventional dialog. In this case, we're going to go ahead and save that to a file. The standard output for the export facility is in RDF XML. We'll click OK, and then that'll be saved to disk. Now we've gone ahead and already saved that, and what we see here is the ontology that's been exported from the system. Since we've just looked at export, let's go ahead and look at the affiliated import option. Now you have an ontology that exists outside of the system and you want to bring it in. That has a similar capability where we can go ahead and browse in our local system and find that. We will not import one at this juncture. We can always create a new ontology, and we'll go ahead and show that's done. Let's go ahead and let's say put in one which we'll call my ontology, and this is a description of a test ontology, and we'll go ahead and give it a prefix URI. I've already done this, so load this, and we'll go ahead and save it. When you create a new ontology, there's a basic stubbing that occurs, and if we look at this one that we've just entered, we'll see that it offers the basic structure, but is yet to be filled out, and now it's ready to begin accepting your assignments. So we could say, for example, their thing, which is the alternate label, and we'll save that. We see that the system was successfully saved, and we go back to the main ontology screen. You'll see that there's now a label affixed to my ontology that indicates that it's been modified. This is a little cue that actually relates to the web service orientation of the system. The ontologies themselves are kept on a remote server, and then they are actually modified locally and used locally. And to keep both of those in sync, there's a bit more complicated terminology than what's normally seen. For example, over here, we can either unload an ontology from the current system, and we can go ahead and do that now for my ontology, and that's now gone from the system. But that's only locally because we had not yet saved it to the remote server. Had we chosen the remove button, it actually would have gone to the remote server and removed it from there. The update is to update the remote server, as well as to bring all of the remote server instances up to date in the cache. And the reload is to take whatever presently exists on the remote server and bring it into the local instance. In this manner, you can work with an ontology, test it, see how it's working locally, and then when it meets your requirements, go ahead and commit it for basically permanent use on the remote server. These then cover the basic features of the structOntology application. Most of the OWL API capabilities, or at least those that are commonly used, are here and available. But of course, via the import and export features, you can work here most of the time within structOntology and then go out to a tool, let's say Protégé. Protégé 4 itself is also based on the OWL API, so there's great compatibility between the two systems. And in that manner, you have something that you can work with locally while you're active with the system, with your ontology, and then if you need to do more detailed work in a full-blown IDE type environment, you can go ahead and import and export out to Protégé. So that's today's overview of structOntology. I'd like to thank you for paying attention and welcome you to come back and see other videos and tutorials on the Structured Dynamics channel.